Today is the 28th of October 2019 and welcome to CLC News. This is a new facility available on the Common Law Court website. It will be a regular weekly feature on a Monday, and in the coming weeks we're going to cover various aspects in relation to the Common Law Court. The development, there'll be additional interviews with people on various subjects. There'll be the possibility for the public to become involved by submitting questions which we'll answer online, and also there'll be the opportunity to cover different aspects each week. In addition to that, we're also going to highlight some of the additional information to keep people up to date in relation to the up and coming Common Law Courts to be convened. The latest news in relation to information on the Common Law Court, and also any information in relation to the statutory courts, we'll say, or their so-called places of business. These courts are being used continually unlawfully to prosecute unlawfully men and women. It's about time that this is stopped. Now, what we will do is we'll highlight some of the up and coming cases over the next week, and we'll do so regularly, and we'll give you updates. But what we wanted to do just now is give you some basic information about the Common Law Court, the position it's currently in, and we'll highlight what's going to be happening in the coming weeks. Okay, thank you for joining just now. We'd also like to try and get this information out to as many people as possible, so if you're happy with this, please share this on all social media networks. Okay, right, first of all, what we'd like to do, just to clarify the position for some of the people, we'd just like to highlight exactly what the Common Law Court is. Now, despite what people think, the Common Law Court is not a registered company, it's not a charity, it's not a place of business, it doesn't have any properties. It literally is a process. It's a lawful process which can be used by any living man or woman once they've confirmed their standing under common law. Now, the interesting point is, if you think about your current position, if you were to try to convince someone that you exist, the only way you can do so is through the existing statutory system. For example, most people will have a birth certificate within the statutory system. They will have a national insurance card. They will have a voter's card. They'll be on the electoral roll. They'll pay their taxes. They'll have a national insurance card. They will be registered at a doctor's, and they'll have a bank account. Unfortunately, all of these issues relate to what we call the legal fiction. Now, for those of you who do not understand the concept, it's simple. When you're born as a living man or a living woman, well, as a child, but literally you are living. Now, unfortunately, up until now, there has been no way to record information on living men and women. The Common Law Court now offers, as far as we're concerned, the first worldwide database system for information on living men and women, which means simply that if you wish to confirm that you exist as a living man or woman, the simple thing to do is to visit the Common Law Court website, submit a declaration confirming your birth. Now, it's unlike the statutory system. You're not giving anything away. All you're doing is making a declaration to confirm your existence. So you therefore confirm that you were born. You confirm the date you were born, if you know the time you were born, and who your parents are. Now, that's all you're doing. You're submitting a declaration. If some of the information you're not sure of, you just enter in the category of the irrelevant field, not known, as this is based on first-hand information. Now, when you've actually done that, you've established your position as a living man or a living woman. Now, that in itself confirms your standing and takes you technically out of their system, so you're taking away control of the state. Now, the state will unfortunately use what they call the legal fiction to simplify it, when everyone is born, the state will create what they call a legal fiction, a legal entity. Now, in doing so, the government or the state will only ever deal with that fiction, and we highlighted earlier on some of the reasons they'll do this: for bank cards, for taxes, for passports, driving licenses, and so on. Now, when they do that, they've created this fraudulently. Why? Well, we can confirm that according to their rules supposed laws, what they do is confirm that there's more than one party involved. You were involved, your parents were involved, and also the state were involved. So therefore, it becomes a contractual issue. Now, for a contract to be valid, there has to be full disclosure, which simply means that the state have to inform you about what they were doing. But unfortunately, they didn't actually tell you. Well, they certainly haven't told me. They haven't told my parents, and as such, according to their own rules, the contract is void, which means that the use of the fiction, the legal entity, by the state is fraudulent. So therefore, they have no right to use this fiction. Now, as the fiction still exists, for example, it's on your bank card and various other forms of ID, it does exist, you can't get rid of it. So the point being is, if the state are using it fraudulently, they're now no longer allowed to do so. You have a right, as the individual with a superior claim to that name, because it was given to you by your parents, you can submit an application on the common law court site for ownership. So you're submitting an application to apply for ownership. Providing you have confirmed that you exist as a living man or woman, you can then obtain ownership of the legal fiction. Now, having done that, you receive the appropriate certificate to go with it. That then confirms that the state have no authority over you or jurisdiction. So this is how this works. By doing that, you also have the facility on the Common Law Court site to register, or obviously to apply or submit declarations in various categories. They range from things like operating a business under common law, moving your property under common law, using medicinal marijuana, taking your car out of the statutory system. So all these things are relevant, and you can do so by applying the relevant information or completing the forms online. As I says, there's no fee for doing this. All these forms and the facilities are free of charge. Now, to highlight further the progress that we're making in the last couple of years, we're proud to announce that the current situation regarding declarations from people throughout the world, we have people in 79 different countries submitting information. Now, these number thousands of people who have all confirmed that they stand either as a living man or a living woman, and that they stand together under this system, the authority and jurisdiction of the Common Law Court. On the website, if you were to go onto the website, there is a facility under the community heading, whereby if you select community and then the option for declaration, it will give you, I think, a number of different categories. The final category, I think, is category number 10. It's highlighted website. If you click onto that option, you'll see the first option gives you a link that you can click onto, and it will show you the 79 countries that people have signed up from. So that's quite good, and you can see the people that are involved, and obviously who's all using the system. Now, what we're going to do, having explained that this is just a process available to all living men and women, what we can also do is convene our own common law courts. Now, the good thing about these courts, which has been established, is that by convening these courts, we have a jury of 12 individuals, living men or women. Now, based on the fact that we have reasonably minded men and women sitting on these juries, they can return lawful verdicts. Now, the lawful verdicts they return is obviously a verdict from the people. It carries with it the authority of the people, and it also carries with it the authority of the common law court. So therefore it trumps anything that the statutory system have, bearing in mind that the statutory courts, the so-called courts that they have, are nothing more than places of business, and they are all registered companies run for profit. The common law court exists only for a lawful remedy, nothing more, and there's no finances involved in this. So the choice is yours. Which system would you prefer to use for a lawful remedy? What we're going to do is we're going to address now some of the issues in relation to the court, what's happening, and some of the court cases that have been convened recently. In the future we will obviously be covering this on a regular basis, and hopefully we'll have some guest speakers on in the coming weeks. But I'll leave it just now, and I think what we're going to do now is relate to the first issue at hand, which is to do with an up and coming hearing in the statutory court, the linked common law court with it, and the issue of cancer. So what I'd like to do just now is confirm that the individual concerned is appearing in the statutory courts this coming Thursday, which is the 31st of October. It's at Westminster Magistrates Court, and it's David Noakes. Now, David Noakes has been involved with Linda Thayer and GC Muff. GC Muff being the product which is used to treat various ailments, including cancer. Now, this becomes interesting because we have technically a product which seems to be able to cure various things or assist with ailments. Now, these ailments are numerous. Now, the product is still being developed, it's being used to tackle various health issues, and it's continuing. However, despite the fact that it has reasonably successfully cured and assisted various people with their health conditions, the government and the pharmaceutical company have decided that they didn't want this out in the open market, and as a result they've actually prosecuted the individuals concerned. So much so that David is appearing in court this week, having already been sentenced and served time in a British jail. Linda Thayer has been prosecuted unlawfully. Now, they've obtained an extradition order against her. She's currently serving time in a French prison, and yet she's never been found guilty of committing any offence. So the pharmaceutical companies with the French courts and the UK courts have assisted to get her out of the picture and throw her into prison, where she can spend up to 2 years there before she gets a trial. The UK courts have confirmed already that they're defying basic common law rights and inherent birthrights. When she was first arrested and unlawfully taken in to prison in the UK, a writ of habeas corpus was presented to the court. But instead of bringing her to court, they decided to ignore it, and they left her for 12 days before they would hear the issue. Unfortunately, by the time they actually let us into court, they had actually taken Lynn away from prison, and she was already on her way to France. So again, they know exactly what they're doing, and they're targeting unlawfully someone who is trying nothing more than to help to cure people within this country. Now, David is in a similar position, because David is serving or continuing with his sentence just now, which expires next year. He's spent a number of months in prison through obviously being forced into giving a guilty verdict. Under duress he did so, believing that it would have no further impact on anyone else. Well, that didn't work, because they are prosecuting everyone else, and they've decided that they're coming back for David. So not only has he been prosecuted in the UK, the French want him over there, whereby they're trying to obtain a 12-year prison sentence against him. But to get him over there, they're applying for an extradition order in the Magistrates Court this week in Westminster. Now, again, this is done unlawfully. David is still serving time just now, but he has to defend himself. Now, what we're doing with the case here, which is happening throughout the UK just now, is many people are turning around and saying no, this is no longer acceptable. Within the statutory court system, or their places of business, many people are trying to defend themselves. Unfortunately, it's not going to work, because within their system the game is rigged in their favour. So basically, providing they want to achieve the result they will obtain, they make sure that they do everything to ensure success, regardless of whether or not it means breaching their own rules or, as they call them, their own laws. They ignore them completely, and yet the judges are not held accountable. So therefore this has to stop. There is no way that, regardless of what subject you're dealing with, that anyone should not be held accountable for their behaviour, especially if they're causing harm, loss and injuries against other living men and women. Now, this is unacceptable. This is what's currently happening in the system. We do not have a justice system in this country. And how the UK can highlight itself as one of the world leaders in relation to the judicial system is ridiculous, when they're actually committing crimes against the people, against their own people, and they're being allowed to do so. So what we're doing is, when people are attending these so-called statutory courts, we're asking for the support of other men and women to go to these courts, to watch what's happening, to see the behaviour of the judges and to help report on it, to highlight what's going on. David's case is this Thursday. It's 10 o'clock in the morning at Westminster Magistrates Court in London. So if you can attend, we'd like you to do so. Please attend, only to see what's happening, to witness that and to show some support. I'm going to highlight other cases at the end of the programme, just to make sure that you're aware of what's coming up. But if you can attend any of these courts over the coming week, we'd appreciate that. Now, in relation to these courts just now, what we're actually saying, the best way to deal with this is that when you go into their system, you're fighting a losing battle. What we're actually doing, what many people have done over the last 3, 4, 5 weeks, we had obtained a common law court verdict at a convened court in Guildford. Now, what we're doing is using this in the statutory court. So before they can actually proceed against anyone, what we're asking people to do is to establish who has the authority and jurisdiction in the court. It's certainly not the existing individuals, which will be the judges, the magistrates. They don't have any authority whatsoever. Now, the common law court that was convened recently confirmed that fact. So therefore, regardless of whether you're dealing with a civil case or a criminal case, it doesn't matter. He says what your first stance should be is to submit the challenge paperwork. If you do so, what you're doing is challenging the authority and jurisdiction of the court to hear the issue. Now, before they can proceed against you, they have an obligation to confirm that they do have authority and jurisdiction. If they cannot establish that, they cannot move against you. So therefore, if you have a case pending in a criminal court, a statutory court or a civil action, and you wish to obviously dispute this, before you proceed, challenge the authority and jurisdiction. Should you wish to get help in this matter, you can contact the common law court, and we're quite happy to give you assistance with the paperwork to do so, and guidance. Okay. Now, in relation to this hearing, it's for extradition. As I said, we're going to cover that. What we're going to do is, having highlighted some of the issues that's happened in relation to David Noakes and Linda Thayer, we've highlighted that Lynn is currently in prison in France. Now, the interesting thing was that the common law court convened a hearing on the 31st of August in Guildford. Now, the verdict that came back from the jury members is that the two judges who were prosecuted, which one is Nicholas Lorraine Smith in England, in London, and the second one was Jean-Luc Godard, a French judge from the High Court. They were both prosecuted and found guilty of committing crimes against the people, including misprision of treason. Now, in addition to that, the court also issued an order against Boris Johnson. As Prime Minister, Boris Johnson is responsible for ensuring the safe return of Linda Thayer. Now, where this becomes interesting is that the common law court, which is the highest court we have in this country, it carries with it the authority of the people, and bearing in mind that the people actually pay Boris Johnson's salary. They have issued an order to Boris Johnson, and they've actually signed for receipt. Now, having received that, Boris Johnson is defying the people. So he's been issued with a common law court order, and yet he's ignoring the people, he's defying them, and yet we still pay his salary. And not only that, he's still in office. Why are we paying this individual money when he ignores the authority of the people, and his agenda is to ensure that vested interests are protected? It's disgusting. So what we'll do is we're going to change this round now. If we make it simple, if we look at the issue regarding cancer and the various ailments that the GC-MAF has an effect on, it's been established that although they're using this just now, I know that there's been 9,000 plus cases have been treated with GC-MAF. Now they've even dealt with stage 4 cancer successfully. Now they cover various cancers and it seems to be working, but on top of that they've covered various other ailments ranging from things like MEMS, autism and various other issues. Basically it says it assists the immune system within the body to fight and combat these diseases. There are numerous ones and there's plenty of research papers. If you visit the sites, so you can actually punch in GC-MAF plus, type that in and do a search on that and look at these papers. Now if we actually think about this for a second, I'll actually ask the people here, and because this is not about an issue to do with their courts or the common law court or basically what's happening. This is just down to basic questions and basic principles. How many people do you know, whether it's friends or family, that have over the years had to fight cancer? Now they've been fighting it for a while, they may have fought it successfully, they may currently be fighting cancer, but how many people do you know, friends and family? If you actually have a look at the second issue here, how many people do you actually know, friends or family, that have actually passed away with cancer? Not to mention some people now may be actually facing terminal cancer. Now if we were to turn around and say to you that possibly there's a cure here for cancer, should that be held away from the public, or should the public have a right to this information and access to this product? Unfortunately, the UK government, the French government and the pharmaceutical companies believe no. So regardless of what you're dealing with, which ailment, or if it's cancer, you have to use their products in their system, which causes and is proven to cause harm, loss and injury to people. Treating cancer, the simple one is obviously going through horrendous treatment and obviously courses of chemotherapy, which is causing harm. It's attacking the body with very little success, and yet by using GC-MAF, it's shown that it tends to work, it's having positive results, and it has no side effects or very limited side effects. Now if there's an opportunity to use this product, should you be allowed to use it? And why do the people not know about this? Well, they don't know about it because the government are withholding information. The pharmaceutical companies don't want it simply because they make profit on it, but the people should be allowed to use it. Now as men and women, if you know of people that are struggling with this, now you may have perfect health yourself. What we've got to think about is friends, family members, children and grandchildren. This could happen to anyone, yet nobody's doing anything about it. Contact your MPs, contact Boris Johnson. Linda Thayer should be released and taken home. Linda and David should be allowed to develop this product and to use it. If it's for the good of humanity, which it is, and it helps people, they should be allowed to use it. It's not about money, it's not about the pharmaceutical companies. They should be allowed to deal with this. They stand under common law, the statutory rules are not applicable. It's unacceptable for the politicians to ignore this and to prosecute unlawfully innocent individuals. You can make a difference. Contact your MPs, contact Boris Johnson, demand that Linda Thayer is returned and hold these individuals accountable. We've been informed that there's an up and coming election. Great. Contact everyone, demand Linda's release. If she's not released, let everyone know where they stand at the elections. If they do not do what the people require and they do not answer to the people, get rid of them. they shouldn't be in their positions. Now, this is a situation in relation to the cancer issue. It just shows you just now how the system works and how obviously this affects everyone. So it's not just a matter of obviously questioning the authority, the statutory system, or trying to have a pop at it. These are issues which affect people on a daily basis. It's to do with your health, it's to do with attacks on the people, causing harm, loss and injury, and again it's all about money as far as they're concerned, invested interests. The people have the authority, you can deal with this yourself, providing you all know what to do. Think about it, confirm your standing, and hopefully we'll be able to change matters for the better. Okay? On the 1st of October 2019, the Common Law Court convened another case. This time it was in relation to the unlawful use of the HPV vaccination programme for children. Now, despite numerous tests being conducted worldwide, it has been established that this vaccine has been declared unsafe for use. And before we go into the court findings, what we'd like to do is show you a short video from one of the mothers who attended the day as a member of the public, and she's obviously given a 2-minute video about her daughter. If you listen to this just now, I'd like to pass you over to Amanda. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Amanda Dew and I'm here today at the Common Law Court for the HPV vaccine. What I want to say is that I'm a mother who believes her daughter has been severely injured by this vaccine. A few years ago, she had 2 doses of the HPV vaccine Gardasil, and a few weeks later, she started having seizures. That was just the start of it. All sorts of autoimmune problems, balance problems, memory problems, social anxiety. The list goes on and on and on. When I started realising that there were hundreds of other girls having similar problems, I thought I'd better start talking to doctors and neurologists. What I found is that absolutely nobody wanted to listen. They didn't believe my daughter and they didn't believe me. They thought I was an overbearing mother and that she was making things up. My point is, we keep being told all the time that the vaccine is safe and effective and there can't be a link. When I asked the doctors what tests they would use to prove that they thought there was no link, they couldn't give me one single test. And yet here we have Japan, where 132 girls are now in the court case and across the country, and they decided to suspend the vaccine after 6 months. They ran lots of tests on the girls, so they were doing nerve conduction tests, they were doing memory tests, tests on their state, their mental health state. None of these tests are done here. I've had some tests done privately. Autoantibody tests for my daughter show that she was incredibly high in certain antibodies, autoantibodies. When I show this to the neurologists, they're not interested. Her seizures, over 70 seizures now, nobody's interested in finding out why. My point is that this vaccine, this HPV vaccine, is seriously dangerous. If you don't believe me, just go on any of the groups, the Time for Action group. You can find out testimonies of other parents, and there's no test done. All I want is actually, please interview us and the daughters, find out what's going on, see if you can make this into a safe vaccine, because putting aluminium, polysorbate 80, sodium borate into this vaccine is making it incredibly dangerous, and our children are purely and simply guinea pigs. Add to that the fact that cervical cancer rates have not fallen in this country. The rate in women below 24 was virtually 0. That hasn't changed, but it's rising in the older girls, the girls that should be protected because this vaccine is meant to last 10 years, and yet in the older girls aged 20 to 24, the rates are rising, so it's not even working. So please do your homework, do your research, don't let your daughter be one of the guinea pigs. Thank you.
Well, thank you for the video. What we'd like to do now is confirm that the findings from the Common Law Court on the day in question stated that by unanimous decision of the jury, the vaccination programme is continually being used within the UK is currently causing medical cruelty on a huge scale, and as a result of this, the defendants at this hearing were all found guilty of committing crimes against the people. Now, it was also noted that in relation to all HPV vaccines, they must be ceased immediately until such time as the relevant safety tests have been proven to the satisfaction of the Common Law Court that they are safe to use. Now, until such time as this is the case, it is unlawful to use this, and the Common Law Court will assist in this process. So if your children are being subjected to this, present the relevant authority with the appropriate paperwork confirming the decision of the Common Law Court, confirming that it's unlawful, and also confirming that anyone that tries to proceed with this vaccination will be held personally liable and prosecuted. On the 22nd of September 2019, Common Law Court was convened to deal with the issue of the rollout of 5G within the UK. Now, the defendants prosecuted at this hearing were Theresa May, who is the former Prime Minister of the UK, and the reason she was cited was that she signed the contract with the Chinese to roll this out. Also prosecuted was Nicky Morgan, who is the current Cabinet Minister for Culture, Media and Sport, which is the relevant department for this rollout as well. Now, the individuals failed to attend, failed to comply with this process, they failed to offer any defence, and they failed to attend any meetings prior to the Common Law Court hearing to settle any dispute beforehand. Given the fact they failed to appear, a case was presented to the jury members, and after examining the evidence, it was established that the jury had found them both guilty of committing crimes against the people. They made various charges against them, but what they also did was confirm that given the precedents already set in numerous cities and countries throughout the world, this is in relation to the 5G deployment, it was ordered that the rollout of 5G, the supportive infrastructure and also technologies, past, present and future, should be ceased within the UK immediately. Now, until such time as the safety is proven to the satisfaction of the Common Law Court, it should not be allowed to proceed. What we're going to do now is I'm going to pass you on to, I'm going to refer you to a video which we'd like to show you. Although it's coming from America, it's an American senator, Senator Blumenthal. We'll show this video just now and we'll come back and have a chat about this. Okay? Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, thank you for having this hearing. We've heard from a lot of witnesses from you today and others previously about the very important potential of 5G technology. It promises to bring us a new era of connectivity with internet speeds as much as 5 times faster than what we have today, with much lower latency, and that's all a good thing. But 5G, as you well know, also uses higher frequency waves that don't travel as far and will rely on a network of hundreds of thousands, potentially millions of small cell sites. And the question then is, are there any health implications, any public safety implications to those additional sites that are likely to be located close to homes, schools, workplaces, and closer to the ground? Correct?
Correct, Senator. Yes.
So in December of 2018, I sent a letter to FCC Commissioner Carr asking him to cite for me recent scientific studies demonstrating the safety of this technology. What research has been done, where has it been published and compiled. He has essentially failed to do so, and just echoed the general statements of the FDA, which shares regulatory responsibility for cell phones with the FCC. If you go to the FDA website, pretty unsatisfactory. There basically is a cursory and superficial citation to existing scientific data saying, quote, the FDA has urged the cell phone industry to take a number of steps, including support additional research on possible biological effects of radio frequency fields for the type of signal emitted by cell phones. I believe that Americans deserve to know what the health effects are, not to prejudge what scientific studies may show, and they deserve also a commitment to do the research on outstanding questions. So My question for you, particularly Mr. Gillen and Mr. Perry, how much money has the industry committed to supporting additional independent research? I stress independent research. Is that independent research ongoing? Has any been completed? Where can consumers look for it? And we're talking about research on the biological effects of this new technology.
Thank you, Senator. I think, thank you for your focus on the issue. Safety is paramount, and as you alluded to, we rely on the expert agencies, we rely on the findings of the FDA and others as to the requirements to keep all of us safe. There are no industry-backed studies, to my knowledge right now. Happy to visit with you as to what opportunities you think there needs to be more studies, and we're always for more science. We also rely on what the scientists tell us.
So essentially, the answer to my question, how much money? Zero.
I can certainly follow up with you, Senator. To my knowledge, there's no active studies being backed by industry today.
Anybody else know of industry commitments to back research, fund it, support it, to ascertain scientifically the health effect?
Senator, I'm not aware either, but I do know that with small cells especially, you're going to have lower power levels. And of course, as from a carrier perspective, you want to be able to manage interference so that that interference is the lowest interference possible. So I would think that some of those studies or some of that information could be utilized in looking at the health consequences. But no, I'm not aware of any.
So there really is no research ongoing. We're kind of flying blind here, so far as health and safety is concerned. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you for that video. In relation to the orders issued that day, the video confirms that the authorities in America, the 5G companies, are spending no money whatsoever in relation to this rollout and on the issues of health and safety for the public. They're not interested. All they're looking at is the financial implications. Now, while this is also applicable in the UK, there's been no test carried out, and the government are proceeding without consent of the people, without the authority of the people. They're rolling this out, and they are causing harm, loss and injury to men and women. This is unacceptable, and it should be stopped immediately. Now, if you find yourself dealing with an authority that are obviously trying to roll this out, I would suggest you refer them to the common law court findings and notify your local councillors, politicians of these findings, confirming that it should be prevented. There's a common law court order. It carries with it the authority of the people, and until such time as they prove that this is safe to use, they should be prosecuted for trying to proceed with this. The individuals concerned will be held personally liable and will be prosecuted through a common law court. So please feel free to pass on this information. It should assist with the case. On the 21st of September 2019, we convened a common law court. Now, this was in relation to the unlawful and fraudulent mortgages within the UK. The individual defendants that were cited to attend were as follows. First of all, Lord Blackwell. Lord Blackwell is actually working for Lloyds Bank as a chairman or vice chairman. Rachel Thompson, who also works for Lloyds as a manager. We've also got Sarah Aileen Green, who works for Mortgages One. We have Sarah Watley, who is a partner and works for Moore Blatch Solicitors. And the final defendant was an individual called Mark King. He's interesting because he's passing himself off as a bailiff, a court bailiff. He's supposedly working for a company called Andrew Wilson & Co, and yet he's the one that's passing off fraudulent documentation to deal with evictions. Now, in relation to the issue of the mortgage industry, what we find just now is that the mortgage companies have fraudulent documents that they're using to steal people's property. Now, we'll cover this in the coming weeks as a separate issue. However, what we can do is confirm that the mortgages, the banks, are unlawfully obtaining property from men and women, so much so that we have evidence at the hearing and paperwork from the House of Commons and MP confirming the unlawful behaviour and criminal behaviour of various banks, one of which was Lloyd's. Now, what they're doing is they're using a fraudulent system, fraudulent paperwork, and various crimes they're committing against the people to steal these properties off them. Now, the individuals have been found guilty of committing various crimes, and after a unanimous decision of the jury, an order was issued confirming that all mortgages within the UK are actually void. Now, we're not actually saying that there shouldn't be any charges attached to mortgages or to the title deeds, but what we're saying is that if there's any charge to be attached to the title deeds, it has to be done so lawfully, and it has to be done under a common law court. So providing the debt is verified, it can be attached. Other than that, they cannot attach any charges to the title, and as we've said, all mortgages now within the UK are void for various reasons. The information was presented to the jury. The jury found unanimously in the favour, and obviously prosecuted these individuals. Now, the issues addressed concern things like securitisation, fraud, fraudulent behaviour, issuing of false documents, the crime of uttering, various things which can be accessed through the common law court. If you go to the category headed cases, you can look up the relevant case on the website, and there's a copy of the court order. Okay, this is something that will also be covered in the coming weeks, but again, this is another result for the people, confirming yet again what the so-called statutory courts cannot confirm, that the mortgage system is fraudulent and that the authorities are breaching the laws by obtaining property under fraud and deception, and obviously evicting people unlawfully from their properties. Hello. What we'd like to do now is confirm a regular feature what we're hoping to have in the programme, that of meetings throughout the UK and internationally for the Common Law Court. The aim of these meetings is to develop and obviously educate people in relation to the process in what's available under the system. On Wednesday the 30th of October this week, we have a meeting at 7 p.m. Over in the Isle of Man. This hearing is being held at the Mountain View Innovation Centre, which is in Jerby Road, Ramsey. The postcode is IM72DZ. Now, confirmation of this is given on a poster on the website. If you go to the website under the category Community and Latest News, you can see that there's posters attached with this information. Everyone's entitled to attend. There's no charge for doing so. Everyone's welcome. It's just a matter of turning up in the evening. Now, in relation to the second case, we have a second hearing, on the 31st, which is the day after. The hearing on the 31st will be taking place in Milton Keynes, again with a 7 p.m. start. It's at the Cafe Belge, which is in Nash Road, Beachhampton, in Milton Keynes. The postcode is MK196FW, and again, information regarding this is in a poster which is up on the site under latest news, under the community heading. Now, the issues to be discussed at these hearings is basically the implications regarding the common law. What is the common law court? What's common law? The issues between the legal and lawful options. You've got the development of the common law court, things like the vaccination issues, what's happening there, up-to-date news for the common law court, the pending cases and issues which are relevant to the common law court, and also we'll be discussing the creation of the peace service, which is now up and running. Now, the peace service is being used as the enforcement arm for the common law court, so effectively assisting men and women if they're being attacked by the state. Also, will be using the enforcement team of the peace service to enforce court orders from the common law court. Now, while we've had some success already, with the enforcement team who have intervened in relation to various issues, probably in relation to properties. We've had some success while dealing with the bailiffs, police and mortgage companies and solicitors. We're now going to commence the enforcement of monetary orders for the Common Law Court, the first one being the end of this week. So what we'd like to do is give you an up-to-date next week to let you know how that went on, but these individuals now will be working throughout the UK. We have taken people just now from ex-police, the retired police. We have a large interest from retired military individuals, and also a large request from members of the public who wish to assist in this process. So we are obviously rolling this out. We are appointing people, and so much so we've also had interest from other countries who wish to do something similar. So if you watch this space, we'll keep you up to date with information in relation to this. And if this is something that you're interested in and wish to help out, just contact us through the Common Law Court. Now, in relation to contacting us, what we'll do within the Common Law Court, probably at the end of the week, maybe the weekend, we will have a substantial number of emails. As you can see just now, the Common Law Court is developing quite a pace. We have thousands of people involved, and we're now in 79 countries, which is great. But what we're also doing is setting up local contacts. Initially in the UK, we'll have about 30 or 40 contacts. Now we have obviously people throughout the UK who wish to assist with this process. So what we're doing is creating local contacts in the area. So you can either contact the Common Law Court through the main address and the email page, the contact page, or if you choose an option, there'll be one up at the weekend which will allow you to contact people within your own area. So there'll be various contacts throughout the UK. This will also spread because we have interest from abroad as well, so we're dealing with individuals internationally for various countries. So instead of contacting us direct through the UK, you can contact individual countries as well. Hopefully we'll have a contact there. As I said, we have a large amount of interest just now, so this is something that should be up and running shortly. If you keep an eye at the weekend for the list, feel free to email us in. The other thing in relation to contacts, what we're also going to say is there are various things set up. CLC News, which is obviously the feature we're running just now, we will have a separate email address for that. So if you have anything relevant to these weekly programmes, email in CLC News. The web address for this, the email address for this will be up at the weekend. We will also have an enforcement email address. So if there's any issues in relation to enforcement, you can contact us through that email. We have the standard email address, which is obviously for information and general information. And then the final one we have is we have a press department. Now the press, obviously we have press reporters who will be covering various stories and feeding it into us at the Common Law Court. So these individuals are press members for the Common Law Court and can be contacted through Common Law Court email address for that. So if you keep an eye out the weekend, and if you have any interesting stories, please feel free to email us in, and we may be interested in covering this story for a later date. Okay. On a final point, I'd thank you for joining us today. This was the first one, and hopefully you've enjoyed it. We're hoping to develop this further, and we will be using additional people, hopefully both here and internationally, to cover the relevant topics. It is obviously expanding substantially just now. There's a lot of work going in. I would like to thank everyone who has shown some support previously to get us to the position we're in just now. What we'd also like to do is, while this is being used not for monetary purposes but to protect the public and to protect our families, I think the time's come now that everyone has to step up. Now, if you wish for this to continue, we can only do so with the support of the people. And while obviously we understand that not everyone is millionaires, unfortunately, it would be nice if we can actually work together to develop this concept. What we're asking people to do is, while it's nice to make large donations or a one-off donation, unfortunately not everyone's in the position to do so. But if we can ask people to make, as is a donation of either £1 or £2, a minimum monthly. If you were to do so, £1 or £2 per month, if everyone were to do that who's currently using the site, we would have enough money to obviously roll out and develop this process a lot faster and be able to assist the public. So if you can do so, please make a monthly donation. You can do so on the homepage on the website by choosing the donate option and clicking the relevant box to make a monthly donation. Okay, please feel free to do so, and as I says, we'll keep in touch and hopefully you enjoy this and you will join us next week. I look forward to seeing you next week. Goodbye.